What's going on, guys? This is a video that's going to be all about acquiring land and what you should pay for it and things you have to consider. Let's get going. Hey guys, my name is Matt Faircloth. My company's called the DeRosa Group. We're a real estate company dedicated to transforming lives through real estate. You can reach us at DeRosaGroup.com. You can check us out on Facebook at DeRosa Insiders, which is our free community for those that want to learn all about real estate investing and ask us questions and do live Facebook live sessions and pick our brains and all that jazz is on Facebook at DeRosa Insiders. Today's question is about land, and we get a lot of questions about land that are emailed to us at helpme@DeRosaGroup.com, helpme@DeRosaGroup.com, which goes from Mentorship Monday program. The value of land, what is it? Land, right? So it has to do with what it is used for. Land really doesn't have much value at all, aside from the potential that it could be. So land is like potential energy. If you guys are into physics or whatever, it's like a bowling ball sitting at the top of a hill that could be rolled down, or that bowling ball could sit at the top of the hill for the rest of its life and get squashed by a dinosaur at some point in the future. It may turn into nothing, but it could roll down the hill, pick up lots of kinetic energy and pick up lots of velocity and become, something that goes really fast, right? This is potential energy. It could be something. It could be farmland. It could be a Walmart. It could be an apartment building, or it could just be farm, or it could be not even farmed, just woods forever with no use. Now, it's nice for the public good, but it's of no value to get turned into something that can generate revenue. It's an asset, right? Aside from being a public asset, raw land. So land in itself is worth nothing aside from what you can do with it. So the real question on land and what you should pay for land all the way goes back to what can be done with it. And we'll take it from there. So that's the big question. Once you know what can be done with the land, you have to get to that point. Then you fast forward to the value of that thing and then back into the land. So let's say for conversation, you've got a piece of land, 4 acres, and we're going to, the town says that you can build this, and we're going to go get town entitlements and town improvements to build a 200-unit apartment complex on that land. Okay, that you have to get through entitlements. You have to take it through typically zoning and planning board, lawyers, architects, and engineers all get involved in that. And so there's a bunch of time. But then once the town says, yes, this can be an apartment building, that's called entitled. So the land is entitled, and then you get permits, then you're shovel ready. You have to deduct all those things and some sort of a value and a risk factor for the time that you took, because the risk factor is in there because the town could say, you know what? No, we don't want land. We don't want an apartment building there. We're not going to prove that. Not in my backyard. The neighbors show up at your zoning board hearing and say, nope, don't want that apartment building. Whatever it is, you don't get it. So there's a risk factor and there's a bunch of time, and then there's some professional fees. So that all goes into the cost of the land, right? Of the getting the land ready. Then there's the building of the apartment building, the hard cost. So I go hire a, your handy dandy friendly general contractor, and they build me an apartment building at X amount of dollars per square foot. And they do the site improvements, meaning like the roads that go to and from the apartment building. And they go and develop the utilities that go to and from the apartment building, and whatever else that benefits the apartment building that's not, vertical out of the ground, right? All that stuff all goes into your development cost of the building. Okay. So all that gets added up to whatever your cost basis is for building the building, developing it, pre-development cost, all that stuff gets nestled up into a big egg. And then you compare that to what the building will be worth when it's done. And so hopefully if you do it right, the building's worth this, or the value, the building's worth this, but it costs you this to build it. And that delta is your equity built in. I'm talking all around in circles because I want to show you guys that the value is really in what you have to do with it afterwards. What you do is, to determine the really value of the land, you take all that stuff, that big enchilada I just described, the development cost, the hard cost to build a building, the supervision, any kind of overhead you can say, and you deduct it from the value of the apartment building on what you think it will be worth when it's done. And that will give you a range of what the land is. The land is all that other stuff, right? Added into the land. The land's here, all that other stuff's here. And then that's the value that you want to be all in on the apartment building when you're done. And hopefully there's a delta in it's like I said, all your cost, including land, is this, and it's worth this when it's done. So you can have a little delta in equity when you're finished with it. Sounds confusing. And it is a little bit. There's a lot of spreadsheetings and Excels involved there and stuff. And that same equation does still apply to building a Walmart or building a strip center or whatever it is. You figure all the costs to create it, you deduct all that out from the value of what the building's worth. You take out whatever profit or equity you want to have in, and what you have left is what you can pay for the land, if that makes sense. There are people that will go and buy or put a piece of land under contract and then take it through what I just said, the entitlement process, lawyers, engineers, architects, getting the town approved to build that apartment building. Then they can sell that apartment building off to that land, not even the apartment building. You can sell the land off to somebody who will actually go and build it. And the person that goes and build it will pay you in dollars per unit. Let's say $30,000 a unit for the land. And so that means that the more apartment units you can build on that land, the more it's worth. So it really has to do with what you can do with the land and what the construction costs are deducted out of value. That's a good way to figure it. And of course, you want to factor in a nice profit factor, risk factor in exchange for taking these things, which could take years to take it through the process. You have to factor all that into the into what you deduct out. So there's a certain risk factor in there too. Land you cannot compare in dollars per acre to the land next door. You can't compare it across town. It's hard to get comps for land, which is why, by the way, interesting note, banks typically will not give you a loan on the purchase of land unless you have a clear path to development. They're not going to give you a loan to go buy a piece of land to sit on it. They'll give you a loan if you can show them, hey, this is a piece of land right now, but I have town approvals. I have potential to turn this piece of land into a Walmart, into an apartment building, into a strip center, whatever. And that's town approvals, construction drawings, all those things ready to go, ready to build. The banks will typically lend to you with that because they see value, but they will not lend to you, that I've seen, on just land. Because you're gonna have to pay that out of pocket. It's a lot of risk associated with it too. Land is in the eye of the beholder kind of thing. I love talking about land. I love talking about development. We've been talking about doing a series here on the YouTube channel about step-by-step process of building an apartment building, because we're on 2 projects right now building apartment buildings, one in Trenton, one in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Now I'm thinking about documenting that process. If you guys want to see that, if you guys would be interested in watching the documentation of the building of an apartment building from beginning to end, I'd be willing to create that for you. Do me a favor though, and leave a comment below and let me know you'd love to see it. So I just know that my people are interested in seeing that. That's what I got for you today, guys. Thank you. Like I said, like this video, subscribe to this channel, leave a comment just so we feel your love. I appreciate you guys. Have a great and profitable week.